Record. So welcome to East Rock Creek Villages, from chaos to calm, decluttering with Judy Tiger, because it's just that simple. That's the name of her organizing business. And I've known Judy for, I think, 30 years, because you also helped start community gardens in the old neighborhood that I used to live in. And so we're really excited. We've had an enormous response to the topic that you are expert in. And today is January 25th, 2024, and we are so glad that you all are here. And with that, let me, Judy, I think you're going to kind of introduce yourself. Is that okay?
Yes, I'm happy to. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to spotlight you for a minute, and then when you're through introducing yourself, then you can do the share screen and we'll get started. All right, thanks everyone.
Okay, so thank you so much for having me. Let's see. Okay. I'm Judy Tiger. My company is Just That Simple. And let's see, for 16 years now, I've been a home organizer. And it turns out that I've had 3 organizing careers in my life. In fact, I used to organize traditional folk music festivals, and then I organized community gardens, and now I'm organizing homes. I didn't even realize that there was a through line until I was partly into my home organizing career, and I was like, this is feeling very familiar. So I just love what I do, and I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
So when you're ready, you can do share screen and we'll get started.
Okay. And then if everyone can put up with my trying to figure out how to do what I'm supposed to do here.
You're doing great.
Ta-da! Okay, and so that's it?
Excellent. Looks perfect.
Okay, that's harder than anything else I do all day long. Okay, so thank you so much for being here. I told you a little bit about who I am. I am, just for my credentials, I'm a member of the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals and the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. What I love about being a member of those is that I'm constantly learning. And I also like to be able to be sure my clients all know that I'm bound to a very tight code of ethics. So I appreciate that on both those fronts. And so what I love about home organizing, as I did my other careers, was that I love the challenges, and I love working on strategy, and I love finding solutions. So today, it's a pretty big topic. Organizing, we could have an institute and talk for months, but today I just want to bust some myths, provide some tips, and answer some questions. And I am going to go flying through these slides before we get to the questions, so that I can try to get all the way through the overarching comments that I wanted to make. So getting organized and living organized, they're not quite the same. Getting organized is the initial process of finding a place where everything in your home can live well. And living organized is that daily activity of finding and using those things and then putting them away again. And let's be real, right here, I want you to be sure you understand that there's no perfection involved here. This is finding, using, and putting things away, again, parentheses, like kind of most of the time, because we are all people and we just try to get along best we can, right? Okay. So living organized also supports living safely and living with peace of mind at home. So what does safety mean to me, and hopefully to you? This means a home without trip and fall hazards and without any kind of fire hazards, without any expired food, medications, or toiletries, and where rooms are usable as intended. again, this does not mean that you have to sit in your sunroom, but usable as intended means that you could sit in your sunroom. Okay, so that's the general point of that. Peace of mind is a home where you can get things done, which is just my terminology for having a pretty good day. And it's a home where you can welcome guests if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you have to have house guests. It just means if you can open your door without a lot of stress. All right, so bad news, good news. Bad news, no magic way to get organized. Good news, I'm going to share all that I know with you. And the other good news is that you can do this. So here's a big one. Clients don't do this often, but they used to when I was new. They would say, so I suppose that you're perfect, right? No, very much not so. Organizers are people. And you will, I'll be reminding you throughout that we're all just people. We're kind of the same and we're different and it's complicated, but we're just people. Organizers have skills which we love to share. So what about that same and different part? So people all own things. We all need to find those things. We need to use them. We need to put them away. That's generally how we're the same. How are we different? Our homes are completely different. Our decorating styles are different. The quantity of things that we own are different. How we like to spend our time is different. Our skills are different. Our life circumstances are different. Our temperaments are different. Our energy levels are different. And these all affect how we get organized and how we live organized. So you know this, but over time, many things can change. Our interests and activities change. Our health changes. Maybe our vision changes. We might have cognitive changes, changes in energy level, mobility, and a big one for organizing is also the ability to reach up high and reach down low. That is a big one in organizing or reorganizing a kitchen. And there you go. So it does indeed influence the manner in which we choose to organize and the manner in which we live organized. So I think you're already getting the hint from me that this is really about people, but it is about things, and it's about space, like that space in your house, and it's about time, how we spend our time, whatnot. So it's also what I would say is a mix of mindset and method. So there's, do this, and do that. That's a method. But mindset is, how do you approach it? What are you thinking about? And it turns out that mindset is the most important part because it governs how you approach it and how you feel about it and how you feel about what you get done. So I like to add that kindness and consistencies are also keys. Kindness, by that I mean, this is all about you being kind to you and you being kind to family and friends that might help you. All right, so the first bit on how to do all this. One step at a time, patiently with consistency and kindness. And a little concrete tip is to consider using a calendar to schedule organizing like you would a doctor's appointment. Okay, and here's some don'ts. Do not binge. This is, I like to use the example. Maybe I say it was when we were in our 20s. When we were in our 20s, we'd go spend the entire weekend reorganizing the garage, right? It's just an idea. If you haven't done it, you sure know about that. Do not do that because it's very exhausting and it has a tendency to bite back. So when you binge, you are quote unquote never going to want to do that again. So your approach to organizing should be the opposite to that. You're just going to start and keep going, and you'll be fine. Don't go shopping first. So don't decide that what will cure everything is a trip to the Container Store, because you don't know where you need to put things away, or what things you need to put away, or what the size and shape of that would be best. Don't compare yourself or your home to anyone else. Just your house, your person. It's all good. Just you be you. Don't be in a hurry, because whatever age you are, there's a lot of years behind you, and the things that you own took their time getting there. And so whatever you own is going to take some time to behave. That's what I say about things. Can we get our things to behave? So it could take a while. So what's wrong with that? Nothing. As long as you don't have a formal deadline, such as the moving truck is arriving. That's a different case, and we'll get to that a little bit. Probably you don't want to start with the most heart-wrenching things first. When you do work on organizing, you are going to get more and more used to making decisions. So give yourself a break and don't start with the toughest stuff first. Now, here's a favorite of mine, rewards. So we all, turns out, we all have an inner child in us, which affects not only how we feel about a lot of things and how we approach things, but how much we love a reward. So by that, I don't mean fattening or expensive. A reward could be, ironically, in some regards, the highest reward when you do a bit of organizing is you need to leave your house for some reason. Even you go for a walk, go to the grocery store, some kind of errand. Because as soon as you close the door behind you, whatever stress there was about that thing you just survived the organizing, it's gone. But it could be a cup of tea, a favorite TV show, favorite radio show, some people that you love to call on the phone and chit chat with, a magazine you're waiting to read, et cetera, et cetera. So think about that, because you need to be armed with an idea of what your rewards will be as you enter into something that you might be finding difficult. All right. And now a bit of an anatomy of an organizing session. I'm just calling it an organizing session so we can have a framework. Choose where you will organize today. Think about whether you need a little bit of music to anchor your attention. That is very typical of lots of people, but good to let you know that I like to say that Goldilocks lives within. If the music's too loud, she's not going to organize. If it's too quiet, she can't hold still. So be kind to your inner Goldilocks. And if you like music, play it. If you don't. If it needs to be one kind of music or the other. This is what I meant about people being complicated. I think it's wonderful and funny, but you have to do what works for you so that you can find a bit of organizing to be a thing you can do. All right, I would suggest that you have some nutritious snacks and water on hand, and actually that you ate something before you started. Again, just a little protein, maybe a little piece of fruit, whatever you need. Have some basic supplies on hand, which I'm going to get to in a moment. If you're doing it this all by yourself, maybe 90 minutes. Again, this could be a whole chat in and of itself, like how long should you be doing this? I'm not a believer that there is another technique called little minutes, which I will get to later. But for a big chunk of organizing, planning on about 90 minutes is going to be typical at first. And you could always do more on another day. Be sure that you think of it as an actual session where you're getting ready doing something and then wrapping up. So you put away whatever you were working on, put it aside, put it away, put your supplies away, take out the trash, take out the recycling, set your donations aside, and take a look and schedule your next organizing. What supplies, you ask? Maybe some boxes and trays that you already have on hand because you did not go to the container store. Just something that's going to help you separate out some things that you're looking at that maybe are all clumped together. Maybe a pencil, an eraser, Scotch tape, measuring tape, banker's boxes that you might be using to put some things in and walk them to another room. You might be putting your cover on and stacking them up to get them out of the way until the next time you work. They're just wonderful tools. Whenever you're using any kind of boxes that you have, even ones you already have, don't write on the box. Write on a Post-it note, use a piece of Scotch tape, label the end and not the top so you can stack up anything and you can still see the names up and down the end of every box really easily. Okay, you might need some trash bags. You might need bags or boxes for donate. You're going to want to use a different type of bag for trash than donate, because if you don't, you won't be able to remember what was in which type of bag. I've been there, done that. Do not use contractors' bags because they are too heavy, too expensive, and too big, and just a complete waste. And you don't need them because whatever it is that you're getting rid of, you don't need a contractor's bag for. I do have a favorite products handout that I made that Shelley is either going to post or email to everyone who attended or whatever. It's just a little starter list. All right. So whenever people ask me this all the time, so where do I start? You can really start anywhere, but start small, keep going, session after session, and it's all going to get better. Now I don't know if you've ever seen instructions maybe in that magazine in the grocery store that tells you should just start in one room and finish it, do it until it's finished. And I just don't think very many people think that way. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I don't think you should feel like you must do that. Because here's what happens. Think if you were learning to play tennis. When you're learning to play tennis, you're you're just like not that good at it at the beginning. And as you do it more and more, you get better and better. You think differently, you have a better approach to it. And on the same is true of organizing. So we call it circles and layers. You might go through your entire house once, and then maybe you're going to start again. And you're like, oh, and you have an idea. So both emotionally and spatially, you might go around, and then all of your thoughts will get deeper and deeper, and that's when you start to be able to contend with really emotional things. All right, more on that if you like later. I would suggest maybe you want to start with daily use areas, which we also call hotspots. So maybe it's the kitchen counters, the bathroom vanity, the top of the dining room table, the coffee table, or other area where you sit and it's got things on it. Maybe the area where you open mail or pay bills. So again, we call that a hotspot because it's the areas that you use most, that you're most familiar with, and also maybe organizing them has a big impact on the way every day would go. So I have a technique I call skimming, which is another thing you could consider. What is that? That means you take maybe a trash bag, whether you physically carry it or not, you'll get my idea. So you take a trash bag, a donate container, a recycling container, and you just turn your head and look anywhere. And right in front of you, anywhere, you're going to know if something is in the wrong room. So you might also have a tray. So you can put this thing in that tray because it's got to go somewhere else. then this thing might go in the recycling, that one in the trash, this in the donate, and boom, without any deep, wrenching decision making, you have been skimming. Another thing I like to say is you could walk right up to a place and look at the things that are there and ask if anybody wants to leave. I like to say it this way because I think sometimes we need humor. This can be very emotional and exhausting or tiring or boring or overwhelming. And so I like to invite you to take anything that lightens it, because the work is going to be the same either way. All right, so what if I can't decide what to keep and what to get rid of? So first, the kind of obvious thing to say is keep things you need, keep things that serve your life. That's a kind of a big statement, and it can be really hard to figure out. Don't worry about it. Again, don't forget the circles and layers. Do the best that you can. If something is starting to make you, when a decision is hard to make, sometimes we actually will get any number of things. Our cheeks will flush. We get short of breath. We can feel dizzy. We can get anxious. We can get really, really angry because we do not want to deal with that thing, whatever it is. If you encounter that, put the thing down and walk away from it and move on to somewhere else in your house. Because as the principle of circles and layers is trying to explain to you, you will be fine and you will decide another time as you get used to that question. That was the be kind to yourself part. All right. So what if I don't know where to put things away? There is a theory that would say you put things near where they would get used. Kind of obvious, but sometimes kind of hard to do. And please don't be deceived to think that you can only own one of something. Don't we all need scissors in maybe 3 places in our house? You don't need 6 pairs of scissors in one place. You might need 1 or 2 different kinds that you have, and you need them in different places. Well, then be sure they are there. You don't have to keep walking all over your house trying to find the 1 pair of scissors that you have. It's true of reading glasses, scissors, a pen or pencil or 2, and you know what I mean. Here's a big one. Don't be surprised if you make your own chaos a little bit while you're working, because you took a clump of something and you spread it out into different categories so that you can continue as you go along. And then you're like, now it looks worse. Just make sure that you know that could happen. Put a Post-it note or something on the box, or stack them up and get them out of the way so you won't trip and fall. Take a deep breath and congratulate yourself and know that you're coming back and that all will be tamed in the future. All right, so I wanted to get to some words that get used in the swirl of organizing. Either we heard them before, we see them on TV, we read them in some book, we hear them on some TED Talk, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And before I get into all these words, why would I bother with a list of words? It's because I just want you to know that no matter what else, everybody owns things. Sometimes the things don't behave. Sometimes we need to do something about it, parentheses, organizing. And kind of that's it. I invite you not to use words that have a lot of charge to them, or stigma, or could make people more anxious, or you make yourself anxious. I rarely use the word clutter even. And I am actually going to use it a little bit later. There it is at the bottom, decluttering. Clutter is just another word for things. And you know me, I had community gardening past. So it hit me one day. Clutter, maybe it's just weeds. Weeds are great. There's nothing bad about them. They're just plants that are in the wrong place. So maybe they need to get moved. Ditto clutter. So it's cute and convenient word, but you can use it or not use it or whatever. Hoarding, much more charged. It's a very specific mental illness with a diagnosis in the DSM now. And I think people sometimes will say, oh, I'm becoming a hoarder, or I am a hoarder, or I think I'm a hoarder, or don't call me a hoarder, or any number of things. I'm just like, please don't use the word if you don't really need to. If you don't need it, don't use it. It's such a heavy word these days. And really, hoarding, it is a very specific type of having things and the way you interact with those things. And most especially, your reaction to the possibility of not owning those things. So, not a word I use very much. Chronic disorganization is kind of a word that means having a lot of things for any number of reasons. Sometimes chronic disorganization actually looks like hoarding. It can look like a lot of things. And the question always is kind of how did those things get there and why are they there? Are they there because somebody had 3 work projects in a row? They had a sudden illness, an illness and travel, or a huge other life circumstance? Or is there an underlying issue, ADHD, depression, other kinds of personal challenges? So again, words that are complicated, and I don't know if they're particularly useful. It's one more description of having a lot of stuff. And the question is, what kind of help would be useful? Okay. So organizing, tidying, chores, routines, and habits. Sometimes they're a little bit interchangeable, right? That's why I usually like to say that all of us, we just have to get things done in a particular day. Sometime we have to get dressed, eat food, do some laundry, pay some bills, make some phone calls. That's called getting things done. And we get all complicated about the names we use, whether they're chores or routines or habits or what. But I just like to stay away from words that are too terribly charged. And I wanted to throw them out here because we're familiar with them. And I don't want us to be worried about them or worry too much about which exact one we use. There are 2 words that are kind of fun, or 2 phrases. One is called habit stacking. It's another way of talking about a circle of activity. Like, for example, maybe you stack in the morning, maybe you can stack getting dressed and making your bed. That is actually habit stacking. Little minutes are a phrase that I use sometime when you think about a circle of activity. Get up from where you just ate, and a little minute is take the dishes with you to the kitchen. Maybe put them down, but then next time you come into the kitchen, take a little minute and wash them. Why do I use that term? Because people can get very, very, very anxious about exactly what they're supposed to do and whether they want to do it, or a lot of complicated things. And I like to suggest that if you take a little minute, your spirit is different about this, and you just wash the dishes, and in a moment, you have survived your own lack of wanting to do it. I don't know if this makes sense. You can let me know later. All right. Then I also get asked a lot about motivation. I don't know. I'm waiting to feel motivated to do this. I've given this a lot of thought, and I think motivation is a very, very difficult word. And at this point, I'm just really invite people to consider, just drop the word. I know that I'm supposed to suggest that you're motivated by some lofty goal of having a better life, whatever that means. Um, but, and you might literally be motivated because someone is coming back from rehab and you're motivated by getting the house ready for them. I do understand. So there might actually be a motivation, but if you're stuck on the word, I say put the word down, take a moment of silence, and see if you can just choose to do some organizing. Never mind if you really wanted to or not. And you can tell this is what I hear from my clients. Okay. Now the concept of zones, which is super important. Imagine you live in an apartment in New York City, a studio apartment somewhere. In that apartment, you still have the same functions as someone in a big house. So you have a kitchen, a dining room, a living room, an office, a bedroom, a linen closet, clothing closet, and maybe the place where you keep all of your tools. Sometimes even in an apartment, I would refer to it as the basement. So remember that you have function. Why does that matter? Because that can help you decide where you're putting things. All right, and then onto the various types of getting organized. Decluttering, downsizing, and house review. They really are just different sets of terms. I'm throwing them in so you can hear them. They're the same and different and whatnot. So decluttering might just be, decluttering kind of means the unowning or the organizing. So if you have a small pile of something, decluttering might be just separating into the categories, putting them into the physical places where they live. It might also include some recycling, some trash, and some donating. So that could be decluttering. Downsizing might be the same, but maybe there's a little more emphasis on the unowning part. You might think of downsizing meaning that you're downsizing to move. But in any case, you're still contending with the things that you own and their purpose in your life and what's happening next. House review is honestly kind of my favorite. I usually call it whole house review. And it sounds a little overwhelming, but it just means the same thing, only every shelf, every drawer, every cabinet, every room, top to bottom, A to Z. Why is that helpful for you if you're not going anywhere? Because you get familiar with the things that you own, you put them back where they belong in a house. Maybe you unown a few of those things. While you're looking and doing whole house review, your eye falls on a small repair you might need to make. I have a friend who used to do whole house review every single year. Unbelievable. And she would just literally make a house map, take out her calendar, and every week she would do a different space. And she did do it by room. Look at the things, put them back in order, put them in a tray to go somewhere else, put them in the room where they belonged, make a list of repairs. Sit down and enjoy the rest of the week. When she got all the way through the entire house, she would schedule the repair people, and then she'd be like, and it would take her approximately 3 months a year, but she probably only spent part of a day in each of those weeks doing the one room, and then she was done for the week. So it's a concept, and I think it's a really good one. And it's really good as we age, because our needs change as we age. And then if we might be moving, we are accustomed to looking, and the idea is not so overwhelming. All right, so getting rid of is a big issue for lots of people. They say, I have this stuff, but I don't know what to do with it. So you could decide that you want to sell things. Very complicated, really hard to sell things nowadays. There's an exception to everything, which means you may indeed have some things that really have some monetary value, and you do well to sell them. But it's challenging because, like, where are you going to sell it and how are you going to sell it? If you have ordinary things and you're willing to put them on a listserv, hey, I have this desk. It cost me this much. I'd like this much for it. And you're comfortable with that. That's a great way to sell moderately priced things that are within your own neighborhood, so people also don't have to go very far to pick it up. You could have a yard sale. Here's why you have a yard sale. You do not have a yard sale to make money. You have a yard sale to force yourself to move the things out your front door. And you really owe it to yourself to decide that once they go out the door, they are not coming back in. And then after the end of the yard sale, they are going into your car to a thrift store. You use some of these techniques as a way to make the things leave your home and for someone else to be able to enjoy them. Okay, I'm going to skip on ahead. So there's donating with a purpose, which means to specific friends or family, or a nonprofit that turns around and gives them away, like a Wider Circle in Silver Spring, Level the Playing Field in Silver Spring for sports items, maybe to a specific church thrift store which is meaningful to you. Well, they don't turn around and give it, they sell it. Or friends of the library like Montgomery County or your neighborhood library. I know we have very active friends of the library in Shepherd Park. Then there's what I refer to as the anywhere thrift. Means you just run it over to, maybe you don't even go out, you pack it and you make a schedule a pickup from Green Drop, or a pickup from Habitat Restore, or you take it to somewhere. Again, so many options, kind of long story. Then there's paper management. Oh my God, what to do with the papers? First of all, why to do with the papers? The goal for organizing papers is so that you have a grip on your papers. But almost more than that is that if you needed help for any reason whatsoever, someone else could just walk right in and boom, they can just find every paper that they would need in order to support you while you need their help. Keep in mind that that is almost more important than the people finding the papers after you die, although that is very important as well. But if people can't find the papers when you're slightly laid up, oof, that is a huge problem, because then there's no one else specifically, maybe there's no one designated to do it. Anywho, you want to keep, this is a community organizing, not community gardens, but community organizing technique. Circles of importance. Okay, so the papers that you want right close at hand are the ones that you use all the time. Your address book, your checkbook, the bills that you're routinely paying, whatnot. Then even farther away, maybe even in the same desk or right next by, are informational papers that you get up and use frequently. And then I didn't use this word, but there's the archives. Again, the archives could be in the same room, but maybe it's in another room and it's your past taxes, etc. So circles of importance, and what you don't want to do is just suffocate yourself with all the papers all in the exact same place. How long do you keep papers? Big topic. There are many paper retention guides on the internet, but I think you probably already know the principles. If you own it, keep the paper forever. Your house, your car, your jewelry. Yeah. If it's a vital life document, you keep it forever. Marriage, death, adoption, naturalization, citizenship, etc. Taxes. Boy, there's a lot of different answers to the taxes question, but here's what I do. I'm a little more conservative than most. You want to keep 7 years of the tax form and all the little bits of paper that made the numbers in the tax form. 7 years. After the 7 years, you want to keep the tax form and any huge thing that informed that tax, like the yacht that you bought, or the villa, or the Picasso. If you're not already on Social Security, which probably all of you are, but if you weren't already on Social Security, you want your W-2s for whatever year that is until you're on Social Security, so you can be sure they don't miss something. Because when they miss something, boy, it's a lot of trouble to get those numbers back. All right, that's a short story on how long you keep your papers. Should you shred or recycle? Your name is out there everywhere already. So if you're comfortable with it, and papers that come with your name on them, you can feel free to put them in the recycling unless they have any kind of account number. Any kind of account number. If it's got any kind of account number, financial, medical, shopping, something, you want to shred it. And shredding is either in a shredder or that you carry to a shredding event, or you buy a trusty shred roller thingy, which is on my products list, and no, I don't get anything out of it. And you can just roll your name off. Yeah, anyway, that's that for shred and recycling. Now, what about that downsizing to move thing? It's almost exactly the same as whole house review, but I know you know this. There are just a few more things. You very specifically are going to review and declutter everything in every room. That's the same as whole house review. And later on, towards the moving, you're going to have a floor plan, and you're going to want to make sure you figured out where the things are going in your new home. You're going to assemble a list of accounts that you're going to have to change, so that you are ready to be able to do that. Things you're closing or moving or changing. And it could be good if you had your address book so you could tell people that you've moved. And you may already know all this, but you're going to get new homeowners or renters insurance to coincide with the date either of settlement of when you bought something or the date that you signed your lease. But if you're in 2 places at once, you're going to maintain your current homeowners insurance until said time that you are no longer owning the home that you have. You have to keep your current home insured. And your realtor would be telling you this. And you're keeping all the other contractual things going for the house that you're in until settlement. And there's more to the downsizing part, but those are the biggies. And phew, finally. So organizing, I like to say that organizing is a self-defense sport. And it's good for you and your health and your wellness. And the more you do it, the better you get. And it is a kindness you give to yourself and to your family. So it was a big topic, and I appreciate so very much for letting me be here today and go flying through all of that. And I'm ready to take questions and to put my contact information up on the screen there for you while we take questions.
Thank you so much, Judy. The only question that I see right now is from Debbie. I do not understand the roll-on thing for papers to be disposed of that may have account numbers. So
okay. Okay, here we go. That was a bit quick. So it's just like using, it's just a little rolly thing that is as if you took a really dark magic marker and scratched out your name and address. But this particular thing is designed to just roll some obscuring letters across it So once you've rolled it across, no one can see your name or that account number anymore. And then you don't have to bother to shred. I hope that was a little bit helpful.
But-
I have a question, Susan.
Mhm.
Uh,
Go
I
ahead.
have been finding that changes in technology present a conundrum. Do I keep things in hard copy because at some point I am no longer able to access them on a device because the programs in which they were created no longer work? I'm finding that this is a very difficult decision point for me at times.
That is a very good question. Can you give it one example?
Yeah, I used to teach and work as a consultant in organization development. So there were a lot of things that I created, just like your slides, and I didn't keep. I went through this marvelous thing where I went through all my file cabinets, and oh, I don't need this. It's on my computer. Toss, 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 toss. And I recently started up something that I had done years ago, and I could not access anything that I'd created because the programs in which they were created, no longer existed.
Well,
You know,
I'm going to just make a general statement that it could be that a technology expert, of which there are many, by the way.
yeah.
You could email me separately and ask me, and I could connect you with someone. I have someone in mind that I'm thinking of right now. Because it depends what program it was in and what you mean and what the document is, and can you take the document that you have now and scan it into something else that is more generic, et cetera, et cetera. It's a
You can have a hard copy to scan it with.
yes, or find out whether in fact whatever that software is retrievable in some way. So I'm afraid that I can't answer it too specifically, but in the meantime, if you have precious documents of that sort, you might in fact want to keep them and organize them super tightly as if you were creating a formal library, so that when you get a tech help, you can figure it out. And the reason I say it in that vague way is, think of it this way. So the Library of Congress and many other institutions are archiving papers all the time, and they're online. They are electronic. And so how they have figured that out, I just don't want to say something I don't know what I'm talking about. But when you think of the big archives, this is something they have contended with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh.
put this so that we can kind of
Oh,
see each
good.
other.
Yes.
And I've put Judy's contact info in the chat. And I've also, after
You
we
answer.
a couple more questions,
Oh, there's more. Yes.
I can also show you the favorite products document that there's a link in the chat, and we'll send it to you afterwards as well. It has like that roller and stuff.
Yeah.
I will say that it was just a product list I made at that moment.
Okay.
It is not the organizer's Bible. It does not have any cute trays, cute plastic trays, or any of the other marvelous things. That doesn't have any over the door hanging. It doesn't have a lot of things. It has some things I use all the time.
Okay. Could you repeat the time to keep tax documents?
Okay. What I do, 7 years with all the attachments and little bits and pieces of paper that prove the numbers that you put in your tax form. After that, just the tax form. And unless you're not already old enough to be on Social Security, in which case you should also keep your W-2 for whichever year that was until said year when you are already on Social Security. Or in the case of something in the past where you bought your yacht or your Picasso, you should have kept those receipts anyway. because you have 7 years to amend your taxes. That's where that 7-year thing comes. 3 years is random IRS audit year time. You just pull your name out of a hopper, but they don't have time and they're busy. But in perpetuity is how long they have if they decide there's some kind of fraud. So it never really hurts to have your tax form. And yes, they have them, but like, what if they didn't? So, does that make sense?
I don't know who it is that said, so yeah, it sounded fine to me.
There are other explanations. You will see on the internet. One of them is 3 years. There are different ones, and I don't argue with them, but I have my own protocol.
Okay. Okay, let me get back to another question. I have some really nice clothes that I want to donate to someone who can really use them, but don't want to end up seeing them on eBay. So they're still in my closet. Any suggestions?
Okay, so if you have clothing that you call professional, it just means anybody could go to work in those clothes. You can donate them to a wider circle in Silver Spring. They don't charge anybody for anything. They turn around and give it. But they're not likely to want, I don't know anything about clothes. I mean, the high-end names, they don't care if it's a high-end whatsy suit. If someone can wear it to a job, because they have a job resource center. So if the thing could be worn to a job of any level of type of a job, they like that. They do not take any other clothes. So these are adult clothes for adults, men and women. With regard to the giving in the eBay, Goodwill puts some things online, but it's not the same as like somebody taking it away. Oh, I see what you mean, that somebody buys it at a thrift store and then they turn around. It's complicated. Just find out if that helps. Find out if that helps a little bit before I try not to answer it.
Someone else suggested the clothes closet at Shiloh Baptist Church that gives clothing away for free. Other churches may do the same.
Yes.
Thrift stores are very inexpensive and people use them for all kinds of clothing, not just professional clothing, but also particularly children's clothing, dress-up dresses. There are other places where you can give evening clothes and stuff too.
Right, but I would say that I appreciate the idea that someone wants what they give to go directly being given. And if you were a family, and the difference between being given a piece of clothing and paying up to $25 for it at your average thrift store, I mean, it depends on what it is. That's a different difference. I didn't say it was expensive, it's just different. And if somebody would have given it to you, I know that that's precious and we want to help take care of people.
Okay, so someone here is asking if wanting a digital copy of the presentation. This presentation was recorded, though, and we're still recording now, right, Shelley? I don't think we stopped, right? So it will be available on the ERCV's YouTube channel, and we'll try to send out to everyone that was here. Now, some of you who just registered today, particularly those of you who use the link, came in just using the number and the password, we won't have your emails to send you these things. So, but we'll try to put it up on our ERCV website where you can listen to this again.
And you can sign up to be on our newsletter listserv by going to eastrockcreekvillage.org is our website, and it's easy to sign up for the newsletter.
Okay.
I think I'm going to turn off the recording just now, but before I do,
Yeah, we're pretty
can
much
we
done
please-
anyway, yeah.
can we please thank Judy for an extraordinary amount of amazingly helpful information? Let's learn how to use, you can unmute for a second, okay?
Yeah, or we can look, if you look under the 3 dots, there'll be reactions. And you can do, let's see, well, you can do thumbs up. You can do, well, anyway,
Clap.
there used to be clapping and there's one
Yes.
where confetti comes down.
Susan, I wanted to ask Judy to explain little minutes again.
Okay, and I'm also going to answer a question that I saw go fly past me on the chat. Went whoosh right by, which was, do I just give advice or do I actually sit with people?
Oh, right, yes, so sorry.
And I so very, the bulk of my work is hands-on directly with clients in every room of of the house. Papers, 50 years worth of papers, I know how to organize them. So you name it, we can organize it together. Yes, I do. So little minutes. It's just, let me back up for 1 second and to say that I find a lot of things about organizing can be heavy in the spirit. Depressing, confusing, exhausting. We all know that we're quote unquote supposed to do things. And we have magazines tell us, and Miss Manners tells us, and Martha Stewart tells us, and everyone's trying to tell us what to do. And sometimes we just don't want to. And all of that can be complicated and also extremely funny to me, because I think funny is more power. Whenever you can find anything about this that can be funny, it lifts the spirit and it can cut through that heavy, dark thing. No, can't, won't, how, like that. So the longer I do this work, the more I'm reaching for anything that's small or light or a little bit funny, not funny at us in a bad way, just spirit lifting. Okay. Now a little bit of why. So a little minute is just a little phrase. It's a phrase. And it means when you walk from this room to that room, or you're getting ready to leave, you do have another little minute before you put your coat on to go out. You might start having a little bit of radar eyes. And it's like, oh, I really don't want to do those dishes. And then you just do them. And ta-da, when you get home, they're done. They're dry. Woohoo. So the feedback loop that you get from snatching a little minute, it might be that you walk to brush your teeth before you're going and you turn your head and you go back and make the bed. Why? Because later on when you come towards that room, it's like, oh, the bed is made, and it's relaxing to the spirit. You didn't make the bed because Miss Manners told you to.
Right.
You make it because it's like, like that. Is that remotely helpful?
Absolutely.
Great. I'm going to
Thank
stop
you
the
so much.
recording. We're going to keep taking questions, but I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you so much, Judy. We love you. You're great.
So fun.